So far, I think Morris is proving himself as the MVP of this entire arc. Because the dude he's been on people's back burner for a long time. He's a character that we all had hype for just in the general interest of his character. But on top of that, he had a lot of very intriguing aspects to him in general of like a potential villain. And then he popped up in this arc, and it was really funny because I've mentioned it I mentioned it when it happened, but I haven't mentioned it a lot since because we haven't had a lot of Morris moments since his general return. But on the stream that I'm usually on for Black Clover every week was Josuke's Black Clover versus Everybody podcast. We were just talking about Morris like that week, like a couple days before any information on the new chapter came out. The new chapter came out, and then you know, like a lot of the stuff we were saying, man, I really hope we can see this soon. Ended up happening. Well, you got like the Dante talking about Ostobal in a tube, and all these characters all moving out, getting ready for stuff to go down, and all these questions that we had been, putting bookmarks on ended up getting revealed. And then so Morris in this chapter, we even find out a little bit about his, like his powers. We don't have a statement of his magic. We do see his grimoire when he's messing with Laurel Pacheca. It's like halfway in panel. It doesn't look like there's anything significant about it. You can see the diamond on it, but like I said, there's nothing that would imply anything crazy about it itself, but probably what his magic is in general, or if it has to do with the fact he's blind and he says that he has the abilities of a devil host. I'm very curious as to what Tabata's thing with that is. Like, is his magic the dangerous thing, or is it like because he's boosted up by devil powers, the thing that makes his magic actually now really dangerous? Or does it have to do with like the way that his weird trait of being, born blind gave him something? I can't figure it out right now because we just found this out. But there's obviously notes in there, like his markings look like a combination of Dante's, what he gets from Lucifaro and what Vonica gets from Megicula. So again, I'm very curious of what Tabata's going to do with him, because he's a character that I don't think a lot of people predicted to be this big, even if he ever came back, like involving the devils, and now he has access to Loro's Witch Queen wisdom. And I still like the theory that he has brain magic, because he doesn't have to have like some giant, power level numbers magic. If he has something like brain magic, and you have it like an aboleth, as it's like this creature from D&D that doesn't forget anything. So you'd have a genius scientist who never forgets anything he ever learns, having access to this massive, like, untapped well of knowledge throughout history that the Heart Queen has, been stored within, or had stored within her. So, I mean, that stuff already is really intriguing, and like the examples of what it means for Morris is like you see him becoming a catalyst to accelerate the openings of the gates of Kulthoth, which, again, like broken stuff like that, when you just have somebody with that level of intelligence and understanding of magic, which what I would assume is most of the secrets at his at his hands. Like if he's able to get in all these crazy kept in mysteries that only the Heart Queen would know, put it in a villain. Like, we have somebody who potentially, just in the severity of what he could be capable of, you could have somebody built up to be stronger than Lucifaro. Because whereas Lucifaro is this super devil of, ancient power and whatnot, that's a superpower of the past. Now think of what somebody with the level of knowledge working towards like higher levels of magic tools and abilities for the future, because we've already seen what Morris can do on his own. Like he developed like all these ways to amplify somebody's magic with all these magic stones embedded in their body, making like grimoires stitched together with people with two elements and stuff, and that's before he has all these crazy mysteries. Like, again, the first thing he is able to do is speed up the process of this ancient, like, cross-dimensional opening ritual. So, give him enough time, and it wouldn't surprise me if he could become a bigger threat than someone like Lucifaro. Because it's like, I know, like, my Rades thing is a little bit memed on, of, like, if he ever finds Wizard King Crypt, but it's the same thing about him, where his magic, anybody who dies, he can pull them back and then have him as a minion. Even, we don't know the extent of it. Like, could he go over to where Marileona defeated that ancient devil and then resurrect it and have a ancient devil zombie? Would he be able to do it on any devils like outside of that, like any Quilthop devils? Because if his magic is arcane, and I think it is because of just the nature of what we know about arcane and his magic being able to literally pull people back from the dead, as we saw him die, and then he used his other spell to pull him, Sally, and Valtos' souls back. It's just like the most unnatural magic in the series. So him being arcane wouldn't surprise me. And if arcane can affect devils, it's like, well, could an arcane resurrecting spell resurrect a devil? There's just like that same thing with Rades with Morris, where you're like, if Tabata could do almost anything with them just because of the level of potential that these characters possess. Whereas Lucifaro is like big giant boss guy already existing. He's already at that status. It's not of he has the potential to climb a ladder. It's like, no, this guy gets out. He's already there. He's already at this giant pinnacle of strength. You know what I mean? Like, you can have this character's built up like that if it makes enough sense, instead of just being like, oh yeah, this guy's stronger now because he did a backflip and unlocked a new spell. But someone like Morris, given where he's at right now with the level of danger that like the world could be in if he finds who knows what in there. Like, keep in mind, the Heart Queen wisdom could easily lead into a character who's bigger than Lucifaro. Like, what if Morris like looks into it and it's like, oh, this is an ancient magic tool that was made, thousands and thousands of years ago, which was like the only tool believed to kill Lucifaro, and then he finds it and utilizes it. Something like that, or just ancient weapons made by like the most legendary crafters and wizardry people of all time. Because we don't know a lot of the large-scale story of the series, like the history. We know the Clover Kingdom and stuff with like the elves and bits about the other, the Heart Kingdom, the Diamond Kingdom, the Spade Kingdom. But that's only one continent, and we only have so many places named, but there's still a lot of the world out there. And we don't know if, like, does Julius even stack up if, like, in Tabata's mind of what endgame Black Clover characters would be. Like, you could easily have some form of Merlin-type character where it's like this ancient wizard who's above everybody else, who was like the maybe even the first wizard ever, first person to ever grasp magic, or something like that, you know what I mean? But the chapter itself, I am really hyped to see where this goes, because it moved very quickly, but it set up a lot of potential, and those are the chapters I really, really enjoy, because when, you have like a really cool fight and good character moment, you have just that to talk about, which is still good. You still have something that you can focus on, especially when it's like, progressing a character and in some way or the other, or just getting like a badass fight scene, the hype train. But when you have something like what was put here with Morris, it's way more fun to think about, okay, what is Tabata doing here? What is his plan? Where can this lead to? And what kind of roads is this going to open up? And I am really hyped about that, because that was my thing about like when I thought of like the Rades Wizard King crypt. It's kind of like, it might never happen. Like, it could very well never happen. But it's such a logical, inverse way for, like, a crazy jump in, like, his existence. Because a crypt for Wizard Kings would make sense. Rades still having issues with the Clover Kingdom, him wanting to get revenge, looking for it. It would all make sense. Same thing with, again, Morris finding something inside of that Witch Queen, mental library of history that could elevate him way higher than any human possible, would have thought to be at. Because not only that, if he can invent ways to combine these secrets and make them better and more powerful, then he's just as much of a threat, if not bigger, than someone like Lucifaro. It just depends entirely how Tabata handles him. But after that point, like, we started with the chapter after the just general Marileona destroying the demon, like beating the big demon. That one, like, again, I didn't think that was one was going to be very impressive. It wasn't nearly as big as the Licked, like, demon god. It just was a big devil. Like, it wasn't even, like, anything crazy. It didn't have any absurd magic. It was just big enemy. Big, slow, heavy hitter, can cast, just raw magic. There was nothing that crazy about it. I imagine if you were any dangerous character, because, like, imagine Yami versus that. Yami's just slicing that dude up. He's just gonna be putting the dimension slashes on there. Same thing with Jack. Like any like bigger character, I imagine would be be relatively fine. Not like just any captain level person. Rill's not doing much, but that one specifically, I think, okay, yeah, that was just like a distraction boss that they found, mini boss rather. Whereas like these devils are gonna. I'm really excited to see their magic. I think most of all, because it'll put us on an idea of what kind of hacks line that Tabata is gonna be in. Because Word Soul magic was busted, and it was like, well, are all devils gonna have magic this fundamentally broken? And Magicula Vonica Magicula Lucifaro and whatever Xenon's devil is named, they all have good magics, but they're not as broken at a fundamental level as Word Soul magic. Word Soul magic was just unfair to any degree. It doesn't mean he is the most powerful, but just like in terms of what his magic was capable of and how broken it would be to try and have to deal with, would be extremely annoying, and it was extremely dangerous. So these guys, I'm hoping, we still get something good. But these are the first ones, so I don't assume this is going to be as broken as something like Word Soul Magic. But I'm hoping it's still really powerful. The way that I would prefer it, I'm just guessing. I would like their magics to be powerful, but not too crazy. But theirs together is very crazy. You know what I mean? Because these are the first two. I assume that each of these guys are not nearly as powerful in reality, just in general. Because if they're set to show up together and work together, and they're both just an absolute threat, like to the Triad. I know they're hyped up to be around the Triad, but I assume because these guys are the first that they'll be like Triad level together, or at least like maybe individually each a little bit around that level, but not entirely like at level with them, but them working as a duo. That's why I like the idea of their magic being as dangerous as it is like unified. I don't know, because they're also like the lore behind them, and that's on the tree. Like, what is it, the twin gods or whatever? It makes sense obviously with what Tabata's doing with their design. Like the dudes one are like tilted and horned going down and up, whereas the other ones are the women's are curved upwards from the start. I'm curious to know, like, a lot of people have this idea they're going to fuse. I don't know about that one. It could easily happen. We don't know enough about Devils, obviously. But I genuinely really like the idea that they are a big threat together. Because if these are the first ones, the way I would like them to be defeated would be like, oh, you just separate them. Some form of mechanical-wise way to defeat these guys. These guys aren't the end-all bosses. I'd be perfectly fine if these ones are taken out with, like, kind of upper to medium level difficulty just as the opening act of the show. These are the first devils. These ones, like, if one of them is defeated, I'm okay with it. I kind of don't want both of them to be defeated, but I'm hoping it's not like, well, there's nothing we can do, because then it's just like, well, there's multiple other devils coming on the way, and they're going to gradually become more powerful. So I just envision these ones not to be game-breaking. Like, when we get to the lower levels, I think each of those is going to be like, all right, guys, we need to take a break, heal up, get prepared and ready before these next ones show up, or call in more cavalry. I want these ones to be strong and like a threat, but I'm honestly hoping they're not too much. Like 2 to 3 more captains showing up would be able to kind of even the playing field against these guys. Maybe a little bit more, but not like an unstoppable wall. That's what I'm hoping kind of like the middle to lower devils are. These guys, I'm just expecting a good opening show, like I said. But furthermore, I really liked the just general ability of Nox cat form. He's got like the pretty much like X-ray vision. He's got just enhanced sight. But that's when he, he sees Morris and stuff, and like these devils show up. This chapter read really fast, but again, I think that the fact that the Morris stuff in there made it worth it, because I'm at 14 minutes in. If I just talked about the chapter, this would have been like 6 minutes. But Morris had so much to present to the series this chapter that I was really excited about. And then actually one other thing I really want to mention, that people are like hating on, like, making fun of Dante for getting slashed up and stuff. But the thing is, that was just going to get him hyped, because each of the Triad don't seem to really care that much about their opponents and seem little like just a non-factor to a degree personality-wise until whatever motivates them shows up. Well, like we saw that with Vonica about wanting to fight strong opponents. Xenon is like dead-faced until whatever his trigger is, that he has that wicked smile and wide eyes. And Dante, like, when Dante starts looking bad, you know that's what motivates him, because those kind of emotions are what hype him up. So, was I surprised? Like, it was like the chapter, like, when it got back to Dante and Jack, it was like you see Dante all slashed up, but he's got the smile, he's happy. He's like, all right, you're going to entertain me, let's do this. And he's getting ready to actually, like, take Jack more seriously, like, actually put his hat in play. But that's when, the more stuff happened. So, like I said, I'm really excited for this next couple chapters. I can wait for the most part, like, if Tabata wants to, like, push this fight out a little bit. I'm not really sure what his plan is going to be now that he's accelerating the gates. But I just want to know what their magic is, because the nice thing about the Devils is if we don't know their names, we can at least call them whatever their magic is, Devil. So we'll see. Listen, I'm perfectly fine if these guys, their magic isn't that crazy individually, but I'm really hoping, if so, that they have some cool combination ways to make their magic really good. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.